Today I want to show you guys how to build a Vex Crit Knife build in Borderlands 4. So let's go. So for skills, I am going to go over what I'm actually using in here, but I just want to give you a second to look at the screen, maybe pause the video now and put the points into all of the green builds, and then go over to the blue build, pause and have a look at those, put those points in, and then go over to our red build and put those points in as well. I hope I gave you enough time. First of all, I want to show you what this bad boy can do. And just in case I have problems telling you how to do this live, what you need to do is you need to activate your ultimate. Then you need to hit the enemy with the crit knife. Then you can do a little bit of damage while you're waiting for the second crit knife. Then you need to hit the enemy with the crit knife a second time. That's the big thing about this. This is where the big damage is going to come from. And watch the health bars melt when I unpause here. And I'll still try and talk you through what I'm doing. So I'm currently using a Chuck assault rifle. It doesn't really matter what gun you use, but this assault rifle is pretty good just to add a little bit of damage to the mix. So I'm going to run up to these guys. I'm going to hit my ultimate and I'm going to hit this guy with the crit knife. I'm going to attack him a couple times, drop the second crit knife, and he just absolutely melts. We're going to do that again. And it's going to be the same thing again. Not only are we doing a lot of damage to the enemy, but we're practically invincible at the exact same time. So if you look at the bottom left of your screen, I don't lose any shield. And that's the same in Ultimate Vault Hunter Mode 5. It doesn't matter what difficulty you're on. As long as your ultimate's activated, you are going to be doing lots of damage and you're going to be practically invincible. And I didn't even have my ultimate there when I finished off that guy. And at the end of the day, I still melted him. So let me show you the build and let me show you what you need to skill. So this is a crit knife build, obviously. So you need to get the vivisecting throwing knife. I have a video on how to get that. But very simply, just farm drill sites, farm anywhere that can drop purple items. And if you do that, you'll eventually get it. I have like 4 of them now. And yeah, it's a very rare item. It's going to take you a while to get. It doesn't really matter what class mods and shields, enhancements, and rep kits you use. It would be useful for you to find some good ones. So I'm using the Ultra Teen Witch, for example, Siren class mod. And I'm also using a decent shield. That's probably the least important. And getting enhancement that works with the type of guns you're using is probably good too. I'm mostly using Jacobs right now, so I probably should get something Jacobs, but I'm waiting for an enhancement that works with Theodore specifically. And I'm also using God Killer. I have 2 out of 3 at the moment. I'm looking for the third one, which I'm probably going to put onto my enhancements. And I'm using Atlas Infidium, which isn't going to help too much with this build. As I said, I'm looking for that God Killer. When it comes to using firmware in this game, you're pretty much got one firmware on each item. So when I get all God Killer, I'll do extra damage to badasses 10%. I'll take less damage for badasses. And on killing a badass enemy, damage dealt is increased by 20% for 60 seconds, which included with the throwing knife, I think I'm going to be doing a lot of damage. Our first 5 points are going to go into Leeching Attunement. Then we're going to get 5 points into Bloodletter, which is the main part of this build. It's a gun and critical hits have a chance to apply bleed, causing kinetic status effect damage over time for duration. Bleed is affected by status effect application chance and is itself considered a status effect, which if you use an enhancement which sends status effects over to other enemies, if you can get that combination done, it's usually with Maliwan guns, you are going to be able to spread your poison, your bleed, over to other enemies, and it's going to absolutely devastate groups. So then we have 5 points into material components as well, which is going to be more kinetic damage. And just to give you a heads up on what we're using, obviously we're using Incarnate as her action skill, and Eldritch Blast is a part of the Incarnate, but you're mostly just using the Incarnate action skill to be active while you're doing all the damage. You're not going to be pressing F to do the Eldritch Blast. And just a disclaimer, it goes without saying, I didn't come up with this build myself. It's part of the community. People have already tried and tested it to make sure that it's the best build for the crit knife. And I will be working on some of my own builds in the future, but for now I'm using this because it's so powerful. Then we have 5 points in Grave Vitality, and we are taking Grave Harvest as one of our augments. Our augments are going to be Grave Harvest and Heart Piercer. And what Grave Harvest is going to do is when an enemy dies, it has a chance to get a soul orb And those soul orbs, you can pick those up and it increases the amount of time that you have on your action skill. We have 5 points coming over here to Essence Leech, which Vex gains Lifesteal. Double this effect when an action skill is active. Very, very useful. And we have Blood is Power as well, which Vex gains extra kinetic damage again on top of that. We're using Heart Piercer over here, but actually we're not going to be using it very much because it's just Crit Knife. Honestly, do your ultimate, hit the enemy with the Crit Knife and just attack, and the enemy's going to melt. You don't need any of this extra stuff. And it's all about the Bloodletter, really. We're mostly putting them into a bleed situation, and we're doing a lot of kinetic damage as well on top of that. If you can get an enhancement that increases Bloodletter, by the way, make sure you put that on. Some of the enhancements give you plus extra 5 points in Bloodletter, making your build even stronger. Again, putting 5 points over here to extra kinetic damage again, while her action skill is active, so we're going to be doing even more damage on top of everything else. Over to the blue tree now, and we are looking at getting a couple of points into Cold Iron for gun damage, and you can also give yourself some extra reload speed, because reload speed is very important. And if you're using Chuck like I am, reload speed means you're going to throw the gun faster, which means you're going to do even more damage. You're going to put 5 points into Portent of Suffering, which increases status effect damage, and since bleed is classified as a status effect now, it's self-explanatory. And we are doing Grave Quickening. Vex gains increased action skill cooldown rate. And then we're going to put our last point into Prismatic Echor. You could always put your last point into Cold Iron, give yourself extra gun damage, or you can give yourself Prismatic Weaponry as well. Let me just give you a quick description of these two. When Vex and her minions apply a status effect, apply another random element status effect. So you're applying poison, and then you have a 30% chance of applying another element. So the enemy, if it's weak to fire, by the way, it might end up getting fire put on it, and if it does, then it's going to melt even faster. Not that you need it. And Vex and her specters deal bonus damage for critical hits, especially with Crit Knife. This one's useful. So because we've already got 1 point at the moment, we are going to put it into one of these two, or that one, as I said. When they increase the level cap, we will probably put all 5 points into each of these and make ourselves even stronger. And specializations, there's 2 very important ones that you want to get. You want to get the Contamination. Critical hits grant increased status effect application chance. So that's going to be huge because poison classifies itself as a status effect, as we said already. So make sure you rush this one, Contamination, and you just have to get Killer pretty much by getting 10 points into Sharpshooter and Brute. And I also go for Riddle You This. Whenever the Vault Hunter deals gun damage, gain a stack for Riddle You This, increasing gun damage, just to increase our own damage, because all of our damage is mostly coming from our bleed, and we kind of want to do a little bit of damage ourselves at the end of the day. So that's why I use Chuck and I use Riddle You This. And for anyone who doesn't already know, by the way, what the Vivisecting Throwing Knife does is it pretty much allows you to do critical hits for 5 seconds after hitting the enemy with it, and then you're going to hit it twice, and you're going to do critical hits with the knife for the second attack. And honestly, it's just a boss melter. I hope that they don't nerf it. The one thing about the bugs and glitches in Borderlands is this particular build and this particular item isn't a glitch. It's actually working as intended, which means I don't think they should nerf it. We're just having a bit of fun with it at the end of the day, and we want to be able to be powerful in the video game sometimes. So I definitely think that it should be left the way it is. What do you think? So thank you very much for watching today's video. Let me know if any questions, and I'll see you guys in the next video.